Welcome to episode 6 of the MBT podcast. In the previous episode, we discussed session 4, titled Recognizing and Regulating Emotions. In this episode, we will continue with session 5.
Glad to be back.
Me too. And for this deep dive, our mission is to basically take everything we've been looking at regarding emotions and, turn the lens entirely toward the unseen forces out there.
Right, those invisible dynamics.
Exactly, the forces that dictate how you connect, how you react, and sometimes how you completely collide with the people closest to you.
Yeah, the people you love the most.
Right. So we are basically decoding the invisible architecture of your relationships.
We really are. And, by the time we finish this deep dive today, you will have a completely new lens through which to view your own relationship patterns.
I think people really need that lens.
Oh, absolutely. Because those intense, sometimes confusing reactions you have when you feel, say, ignored or smothered or totally misunderstood by your partner.
Which feels awful, by the way.
It does. But those reactions aren't random. They are deeply ingrained survival strategies. Wow.
Yeah, they are literal biological blueprints that your brain mapped out long before you even had the capacity for a conscious memory.
See, that is just wild to me. Because usually when we think about our adult relationships, we really like to view ourselves as highly rational, logical beings.
Oh, we love to think that.
We do. We think, we communicate using mature I feel statements. We read the relationship books. We try to be super objective.
Right, the perfect modern partner.
Exactly. But then, your partner doesn't text you back for 4 hours, or they give you this, slightly detached look across the kitchen island.
And boom.
And boom. Suddenly, all that logic just completely evaporates. You were entirely flooded with adrenaline. You're a mess.
It evaporates because in those moments of high relational stress, you are no longer operating from the rational adult part of your brain.
The prefrontal cortex, right?
Exactly, the prefrontal cortex. You've essentially been hijacked by the amygdala, which means you are operating from a much older, much deeper blueprint.
A survival blueprint. Right. And this transitions perfectly from our last discussion on recognizing emotions to, uncovering where those rawest emotional reactions are actually born.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to do that, we are leaning into the publications on MBT, which anchor basically everything in attachment.
Everything comes back to attachment.
It does. And let's be clear here, attachment is a word that gets casually thrown around a lot these days.
Way too much.
Yeah, like people will say, oh, I'm overly attached to my phone, or I have attachment issues because I like my dog too much.
Right, as a joke.
But we aren't talking about a simple preference or like a cute personality quirk here.
Not at all.
We're talking about a fundamental biological imperative. It's an emotional bond originating with your primary caregivers that acts as a literal survival mechanism.
Yes, survival mechanism. And we so often think of an emotional bond as just a luxury, really.
Like a bonus.
Right. We see a parent cuddling a baby, and we think of it as just a sweet memory being created. Oh, look how cute.
Yeah, totally.
What's fascinating here is that evolutionary biology tells a completely different, much more stark story about this.
How so?
Well, look at the rest of the animal kingdom. Take a horse, for example. A baby foal drops out of its mother, and within an hour, it's literally standing up on wobbly legs.
Right. It's walking almost immediately.
Exactly. Within a few hours, it can run alongside the herd to escape a predator.
That's crazy when you think about human babies.
Or look at a baby sea turtle. It hatches out of an egg buried deep in the sand, and instinctively, with zero parenting, it scrambles its way down the beach to the ocean.
Just totally on its own.
Yep. They are what we call precocial species. They come out of the box with the necessary survival software already downloaded and running.
Ready to go, no updates required.
Exactly. But humans, on the other hand, are an altricial species.
Altricial, okay.
Right, meaning a human newborn is terrifyingly helpless.
Oh, absolutely useless, biologically speaking.
I mean, it cannot walk, it can't find food, it can't defend itself, it can't even effectively regulate its own body temperature.
It just lies there.
It just lies there. From a purely biological standpoint, a human infant left entirely alone will simply not survive.
So they need a totally different strategy.
Precisely. Therefore, for the human species, attachment is the primary life or death imperative. It's not a luxury. We are biologically hardwired to emit distress signals when we are in danger or hungry or just in discomfort.
Like crying.
Crying, reaching, arching the back.
And evolution ensures that system works both ways, right? because the caregiver is instinctively hardwired to respond to those specific signals.
Oh, completely.
I remember reading that the sound of a baby crying literally spikes cortisol in the caregiver's brain.
It absolutely does. It's a physiological response.
It's an acoustic alarm. It's designed to cause enough physiological stress in the parent that they are just compelled to act.
They have to make it stop.
Right, to soothe, to fix the problem, really just to calm their own nervous system down as much as the baby's.
That bidirectional biological imperative is the foundation of everything we're talking about today.
Okay, so think of it this way. It's like the baby has this internal biological Wi-Fi signal constantly searching for a router.
I love that analogy.
Right, just pinging.
Yeah.
Searching for network. Searching for network.
Exactly. And if the signal connects, the baby downloads safety.
And if that connection is reliable, day after day, they are literally downloading life.
Yes, the very capacity to live and thrive.
So if we look at the mechanics of that actual download process, the publications on MBT detail what is called the interaction circle.
The interaction circle. This is crucial.
Yeah, this is where the human psyche is literally manufactured minute by minute, day by day, right?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through how that connection actually happens?
Absolutely. The interaction circle is basically the foundational algorithm of psychological development. It happens in 5 steps.
Okay, step 1.
Step 1. The baby feels a physiological need. Maybe it's hunger, cold, fear, whatever. And the amygdala sounds the alarm. They cry out.
The Wi-Fi signal goes out.
Exactly. Step 2. The caregiver picks up that signal. They hear the cry.
Makes sense. Step 3.
Step 3 is where it gets complex. The caregiver mentalizes.
Mentalizes. We talked about that a bit before, but remind us.
Right. They assess the situation and try to hold the baby's mind in their own mind. They are figuring out, is this a tired cry, a hungry cry? Is a diaper pin poking them?
They're trying to decode the signal.
Exactly. Then step 4, they provide the specific comfort needed based on that assessment.
They feed the baby or rock them.
Right. And finally, step 5. The baby's vagus nerve is stimulated, their heart rate drops, and the whole biological system returns to baseline.
So cry, respond, assess, comfort, calm.
That's the circle.
But wait, what happens if the caregiver guesses wrong? Which, let's be real, they inevitably will.
Oh, all the time.
Right, like if my baby is crying and I offer a bottle, but it turns out they actually just have an ear infection, I've just failed the assessment step.
You have.
So if the entire psychic architecture of the brain depends on this circle, doesn't that mean we as parents are just constantly damaging our kids?
I'm so glad you asked that, because this is where Donald Winnicott's concept of the good enough mother or, caregiver becomes completely crucial.
The good enough caregiver. That sounds like a relief.
It is a massive relief. The goal is not perfection. Perfection is biologically impossible.
Thank goodness.
Right. No caregiver catches the signal 100% of the time or guesses the need correctly on the first try every single time.
It's just trial and error a lot of the time.
Exactly. What actually creates a secure attachment isn't perfection, it's the consistency of the attempt.
The attempt itself.
Yes, it is the reliable, repeated presence of the caregiver stepping into that circle, repairing the ruptures when they guess wrong, and eventually guiding the infant's nervous system back to baseline.
So it's not about avoiding distress entirely. That's a huge takeaway. It's about the consistent experience of the distress being resolved.
Precisely, resolving the rupture.
And when that circle is completed reliably, thousands of times, it builds 2 massive psychological pillars according to the publications on MBT.
It does.
First, a positive self-image. The infant implicitly learns, hey, my distress matters. My signals have an impact on the world. I have agency.
Yes, I matter. And the second pillar is a positive image of others.
People are generally reliable.
Right. The world is a safe place where my needs will eventually be met. But, the most fascinating neurobiological leap happens next.
Oh, tell me.
Well, a parent cannot physically be there for every single second of a person's life, obviously.
Well, obviously.
So through thousands and thousands of repetitions of this interaction circle, the child actually begins to internalize the caregiver.
Here's where it gets really interesting. You're talking about mirror neurons and memory consolidation, right?
Exactly.
They associate the smell of the parent, the cadence of their voice, and just that physical holding environment with their own internal physiological calming.
Yes. They build a neural representation of a secure base inside their own mind.
That is amazing.
It really is. Eventually, the physical person doesn't even need to be in the room. Just the mental invocation of that safe person can engage the child's parasympathetic nervous system and trigger self-soothing.
Wow. which perfectly explains why separation anxiety is just so incredibly intense in toddlers.
It explains it entirely.
If a child hasn't fully solidified that internal calming software yet, their entire capacity to regulate their own heart rate and their own terror is literally located inside another human being.
Yes, their parent is their external nervous system.
So when that human walks out of the room, it isn't just a toddler throwing a tantrum. It is a biological panic attack about survival.
It is absolute existential terror. And while we expect that kind of reaction in a 2-year-old, we really must recognize that this reliance on others for emotional regulation doesn't just, vanish when you turn 18.
Right, we don't just outgrow biology.
We don't. In adulthood, we still regulate through connection. Our partners and our closest friends, they act as our external nervous systems.
We seek them out.
Exactly. When we are distressed, we naturally seek them out to help us co-regulate.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because I can hear people listening to this and thinking, wait a minute.
What are they thinking?
If we chalk every extreme reaction or relational conflict up to, biology and childhood survival mechanisms,
Yeah.
aren't we just giving people a massive free pass?
I see what you mean.
Right. Like if someone screams at their partner for going out with friends or completely shuts down and gives them the silent treatment for a week saying, oh, sorry, my amygdala hijacked me, sounds like a very convenient excuse to be terrible to the people we love.
That is a vital distinction to make, and I'm glad you brought it up. Understanding the mechanism is an explanation. It is not an excuse.
Okay, good.
In the framework of MBT, what we are really talking about in those moments of bad behavior is the collapse of mentalizing.
The collapse.
Right. Remember, mentalizing is the ability to understand that your partner has a mind of their own with their own intentions and feelings, completely separate from yours.
Right. They aren't just an extension of me.
Exactly. When a securely attached person gets triggered, their distress spikes, sure, but their mentalizing stays online.
They don't lose their mind.
Right. They can say, I feel incredibly anxious right now because you're going out, but I know you aren't trying to hurt me. You just want to see your friends.
But when an insecurely attached person gets triggered, the anxiety is just so overwhelming that the mentalizing capacity just completely drops offline.
It totally crashes. They lose the ability to read the other person's mind accurately at all.
So they project.
Exactly. They project their own internal terror right onto their partner. So to them, the partner isn't just going out with friends. In that hijacked brain, the partner is actively abandoning them.
Wow.
So while we don't excuse the destructive behavior like yelling or the silent treatment, we cannot effectively change it until we understand that the behavior is actually a desperate, misguided attempt to restore a sense of biological safety.
It's all about safety. Okay, so let's look at how those specific, misguided attempts actually manifest in people. The publications on MBT detail how variations in that childhood environment, like when that interaction circle is inconsistent and completely broken, force the brain to calculate new survival strategies.
Yeah, adaptations.
Exactly. Let's start with the unpredictable environment and the development of the ambivalent attachment style.
Okay, so if secure attachment is the baseline, ambivalent attachment is the biological adaptation to inconsistency.
Inconsistency.
Yes. The caregiver in this scenario is sometimes incredibly loving, attuned, and responsive.
The Wi-Fi signal connects perfectly.
Connects beautifully, but other times they are physically present but emotionally entirely unavailable or distracted or even intrusive.
So the unpredictability is the actual trauma here.
Exactly.
If the biological Wi-Fi signal connects perfectly on Monday, but then on Tuesday you send out the exact same signal and there's just dead air, the child's brain has to adapt.
It has to survive.
Right? It calculates, okay, a normal signal doesn't always work. Therefore, I need to make my signal absolutely impossible to ignore.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, they turn the volume all the way up.
They amplify the distress.
They do. And neurobiologically, this creates a devastating cycle that is driven by intermittent reinforcement.
Intermittent reinforcement, like the slot machine effect.
It is exactly the slot machine effect. Think about it. If you put a coin in a vending machine and it never gives you a soda, you eventually just walk away.
Right? You give up.
And if it gives you a soda every single time, you are relaxed. You know it works.
You trust the machine.
But a slot machine, it pays out just often enough to keep you pulling the lever.
Oh, wow.
You never know when the dopamine hit of reward, or in this case, comfort, is actually coming, so you become hyper-focused. You worked twice as hard.
Because the comfort does arrive sometimes, they learn to keep the caregiver under strict, constant surveillance.
Constant. Is Mom in a good mood? Is she looking at me? Did her tone of voice just change?
And this hypervigilance completely prevents them from internalizing a consistent sense of safety. Their baseline anxiety is just perpetually elevated.
Yes, they never truly relax. And when this blueprint carries over into adult romantic relationships, it looks exactly the same.
The partner becomes the slot machine.
The partner is the slot machine.
You know, I always think of it like a faulty button on a crosswalk.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. Because if you walk up to a crosswalk, you press the button, and it immediately lights up and beeps, you just stand there calmly waiting for the light to change. You trust the system.
That's secure attachment.
Exactly, that secure attachment. But if you walk up to a button that looks kind of broken, you press it, and nothing happens.
No beep.
No beep, no light. You don't know if the system even registered you. So what do? You mash the button.
You hit it over and over.
You hit it 10, 20 times, increasingly aggressively, just trying to force the system to acknowledge your existence.
Mashing the button is the absolute perfect analogy for ambivalent conflict in a relationship.
It's the double texting.
It's the double texting, the persistent questioning, the complete refusal to let an argument drop even when it's 2 a.m.
Right, the escalating emotional display.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they are terrified that if they stop pressing the issue, if they stop mashing the button, the connection will completely sever and they will be abandoned in traffic.
Which brings up a massive societal stigma, I think. Because when someone is mashing that emotional button in a relationship, we usually label them attention-seeking.
We do, and it's so damaging.
We say they're being dramatic or manipulative or needy, but the publications on MBT completely reframe this behavior.
It is a critical paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Calling it attention-seeking in a derogatory way completely misses the biological reality of what's happening.
That's not about attention.
No, it is attachment-seeking. It is a nervous system screaming for the co-regulation it never consistently received as a child.
Wow. Attachment-seeking.
The person is instinctively trying to survive a perceived threat of abandonment using the absolute only tool their childhood environment ever taught them.
Which is turning up the volume until someone is forced to respond.
Exactly. It changes everything when you look at a spiraling partner and realize they aren't trying to trap me or manipulate me.
Their mentalizing is just dropped offline.
Right. And their nervous system is begging for a signal that says, you are safe.
Okay, but what about the opposite extreme? Because we know not everyone turns the volume up. What happens when a child learns that turning the volume up doesn't just result in being ignored, but actually brings active rejection or even danger?
Then the brain calculates a totally different and frankly deeply agonizing survival strategy.
The avoidant attachment style.
Exactly. This brings us to the avoidance style. If ambivalent is turning the volume up, avoidant is the active, deliberate suppression of the distress signal.
You turn the volume completely off.
You rip the dial right off the radio.
And this stems from an interaction circle that is consistently broken, right?
Yes. The caregiver is frequently absent, chronically emotionally unavailable, or actively punitive when the child shows any vulnerability.
So the baby cries, and the parent becomes angry and tells them to shut up.
Right, and remember, the child is a biological organism prioritizing survival above all else.
They have to adapt to survive.
Exactly. If sending a distress signal consistently results in no help, or worse, brings a predator, which, let's face it, an angry caregiver essentially is to a helpless infant, what is the safest biological response?
You shut down the beacon, you go dark.
You go entirely dark. It's the activation of the dorsal vagal complex in the nervous system. The child learns a deeply painful, implicit lesson.
Which is?
Others are not available to me. Showing my needs makes things worse. The only way to survive is to rely entirely on myself and ask for absolutely nothing.
So they just stop crying. They stop reaching out altogether.
They do. And the real tragedy here is that on the outside, society often praises this adaptation.
Oh, absolutely. A parent or a preschool teacher might look at that child and think, oh, what a wonderfully independent, self-sufficient kid.
They're so mature.
They never cry. They play so well by themselves. But the publications on MBT highlight the physiological research on avoidant attachment. And man, it is staggering.
It is one of the most vital insights in all of attachment theory, honestly.
Tell them about the research.
Well, when researchers hook people with avoidant attachment styles up to physiological monitors during a stressful relational event, say an argument with a partner, they measure their heart rate, their cortisol levels, and their galvanic skin response.
The physical markers of stress.
Right. And the data completely contradicts everything we see on the outside.
Wait, really?
Yes. The internal physiological reality of the avoidant person shows massive spikes in stress hormones. Their heart is racing.
So they aren't calm at all.
Not at all. They're experiencing the exact same level of internal terror and panic as the ambivalent person who is screaming and crying.
But their external expression is completely flat.
Completely flat, they look bored or detached.
They have basically learned to entirely sever the connection between their internal autonomic arousal and their external expression.
Yes, the connection is severed.
That sounds like absolute torture. You are literally drowning in anxiety, but your survival mechanism forces you to keep a perfectly straight face.
It is torture. And because they project this aura of, I don't need anyone, I am totally fine, people believe them.
Because why wouldn't they?
Right. So their partners leave them alone during conflicts, which, tragically, just reinforces their core underlying belief.
That no one is really there for them anyway?
Exactly. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So what does this all mean? I mean, I always picture like a swan gliding across a lake.
A swan. I like that.
Yeah, from above the water, it is the picture of elegance and stoicism. It looks so effortless.
Not a ripple.
Right. But if you look underneath the surface of the water, those webbed feet are paddling frantically just to keep the bird from sinking.
The swan is working incredibly hard to maintain the illusion of calm.
Exactly. The frantic paddling underwater is the racing heart and the spiked cortisol.
Yeah.
And the smooth glide above the water is the aloof, detached exterior.
That is a perfect visualization. And in adult relationships, this lack of external signaling makes conflict incredibly difficult to navigate.
Oh, I bet. Because if you're married to someone who is ambivalent, you at least know when they are triggered, right?
Oh, you definitely, though.
They are mashing the button. But if an avoidant person's entire survival strategy is to flawlessly execute the swan illusion, how do you even know they are in distress?
It's tricky.
How do you know when their mentalizing has dropped offline?
You have to become attuned to the absence of emotion.
The absence.
Yes. While an ambivalent person moves toward you in conflict, an avoidant person will move away.
They pull back.
They might physically leave the room, but more insidiously, they might emotionally leave the room.
How does that look?
They become highly intellectual, they strip all the affect out of their voice, and suddenly they're speaking to you like a lawyer litigating a contract, rather than a partner resolving a hurt.
Well, factually speaking.
Exactly. Or they might suddenly become extremely focused on a practical task, like doing the dishes with intense, silent precision while you're trying to talk to them.
So the numbness is actually the alarm bell.
It is profound, but yes. The absence of emotional expression in a situation that biologically warrants an emotional response is the loudest distress signal an avoidant person can possibly send.
Man. Okay, now, having laid out these primary blueprints, secure, ambivalent, avoidant, we really have to ensure we don't fall into the trap of rigid categorization here.
We definitely don't want to put people in boxes.
Right. Human neurobiology is infinitely complex, and the publications on MBT emphasize over and over that nobody exists perfectly inside just one of these boxes.
Absolutely not. Attachment is fluid and it's highly contextual.
Contextual, right.
It is incredibly common to have a mixed profile. For instance, you might have a generally secure attachment with your close friends, but exhibit intense ambivalent tendencies with a romantic partner.
Because the romantic partner triggers a different fear.
Exactly. Or you might default to an avoidant shutdown when criticized by your boss, but become anxiously ambivalent if you feel a friend is pulling away from you.
So it depends heavily on the specific nature of the perceived threat.
It really does.
And these patterns, they dictate far more than just how we argue about doing the laundry,
Well,
right?
oh, way more.
They influence our baseline stress levels, our immune system responses, how we process physical pain, and fundamentally, how we construct our own identities in relation to the world.
They form the core of who we believe we are.
Which brings us to the ultimate question.
Let's hear it.
If these blueprints were drawn up before we even had the vocabulary to speak, if they are physically, biologically wired into the synapses of our brains,
Yeah.
are we doomed?
Dude.
Yeah. Are we just fleshy robots running outdated software destined to destroy our relationships forever?
Well, this raises an important question. But no, if that were true, the entire field of psychology, and MBT specifically, would be completely pointless.
Okay, good. Give us the good news.
The most hopeful, scientifically grounded reality we have is neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity. The brain can change.
Yes. The brain's architecture is not fixed in concrete, it is clay. It is constantly forming and reorganizing synaptic connections in response to new experiences.
Like Hebb's law, right? Neurons that fire together wire together.
That's exactly it. If you spent your entire childhood firing the panic and withdraw neurons, that pathway became an 8-lane superhighway in your brain.
Yeah, the secure pathway.
The secure pathway is like a tiny, overgrown dirt trail in the woods.
Hard to find, hard to walk down.
Right. So when a relational trigger happens, the electrical signal in your brain naturally takes the path of least resistance.
It zooms down the superhighway.
Exactly. But the publications on MBT show us exactly how to start carving out that dirt trail until it becomes the new default.
So how does that actually happen? Because, let's be honest, reading a book about attachment doesn't magically change your attachment style.
It definitely doesn't.
Knowing you are ambivalent doesn't stop your heart from racing when the text doesn't come.
No, insight alone is never enough. You cannot think your way out of an attachment pattern.
What do you do?
You have to experience your way out of it.
Experience your way out.
Yes. It requires gaining new, repeated relational experiences with consistently available people.
Okay, let's make this tangible for people. Let's say an ambivalent person, someone who has mashed the button their whole life, gets into a relationship with a highly secure partner.
Okay, a great scenario.
What is actually happening neurologically during an argument between them?
All right, let's say the ambivalent partner is triggered. Their amygdala fires, their mentalizing drops completely offline, and they start escalating the argument, demanding immediate reassurance.
They're mashing the button.
Mashing it. Now, historically, their previous partners or caregivers either yelled back or abandoned them entirely, which just reinforced the trauma.
It proved the superhighway was right.
Exactly. But the secure partner does something different.
What do?
They stay regulated, they don't match the escalation, but they also don't withdraw or run away. They hold their ground, look the ambivalent partner in the eye and say, I can see how upset you are. I'm not leaving. We are going to figure this out.
Wow. So the secure partner is essentially acting as an external prefrontal cortex.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
They are loaning their regulated nervous system to the triggered partner.
Exactly. And in that moment, the ambivalent person's brain experiences a profound mismatch.
A mismatch between expectation and reality.
Right. The brain was predicting abandonment. It was preparing for a massive threat. But the incoming data is safety.
Safety.
Yes. And when this happens repeatedly over months and years, the brain actually starts to prune the old anxious superhighway and strengthen the new secure pathway.
It physically changes.
The nervous system literally rewires itself to expect safety instead of chaos.
We call this earned secure attachment. You overwrite the old childhood blueprint with a new one built through consistent adult experiences.
Earned security is a beautiful thing.
But I think it's vital to acknowledge that this process is physically deeply uncomfortable.
Oh, it's as agonizing.
Right, to not mash the button when every cell in your body is screaming at you to do it. It feels like you are going to die.
It does. It feels deeply unsafe to act against your survival blueprint. This is why therapy, particularly MBT, is so incredibly effective.
Because you can't always just rely on a partner.
Right. The therapist provides a highly controlled, safe environment to practice keeping your mentalizing online when the anxiety spikes.
They guide you through it.
They help you build the capacity to pause in that agonizing gap between the trigger and the reaction.
Which brings us to the challenge for you listening to this right now. The publications on MBT don't want you to just intellectually nod along to this theory, you know?
No, theory is enough.
They want you to map your own neurobiology.
We want to challenge you to do a very specific and perhaps slightly uncomfortable thought experiment today after you finish listening.
What's the experiment?
Well, we aren't asking you to sit in a peaceful meditation. We are asking you to be an objective scientist looking at your own historical data.
Okay, I like that. Think about the last massive irrational argument you had with a partner or a close friend.
The kind of argument where logic went completely out the window.
Yes, that one. Now, step outside of the content of the argument. Forget who forgot to take out the trash or who said what about whose mother, and look at the process.
Look at the code you were running.
Exactly.
When the tension rose and you felt fundamentally unsafe, what did your biological blueprint force you to do?
Did you turn the volume up?
Did you relentlessly pursue, demand answers, and refuse to let the other person leave the room?
Were you mashing the button?
Or, on the other hand, did you execute the swarm illusion?
Did you turn the volume down, act like you didn't care at all, and retreat behind an impenetrable wall of ice?
All while your heart was racing underwater.
You cannot rewrite a software program if you refuse to look at the code.
You really can't.
By observing your own reactions without judgment, and I mean really recognizing them as ancient survival strategies rather than modern character flaws, you take the first step toward reclaiming your prefrontal cortex.
You begin to stretch that tiny gap between the trigger and the reaction.
And in that gap, all of your freedom exists. In that gap, you get to choose to act like an adult rather than reacting like an infant.
That is the ultimate goal.
It really is. Now, to wrap up this incredible exploration into the architecture of how we connect, I want to hand it over to you for a final synthesizing thought.
I'd be happy to. If you take away only one thing from the science we've discussed today, consider this. Because our core attachment styles were forged in infancy, long before we possessed language or logic, there is a profound reality hiding beneath our adult lives.
What is that reality?
Consider the possibility that your most complex, frustrating, highly verbal adult relationship arguments might actually just be two inner toddlers.
Two inner toddlers.
Disguised in adult bodies and armed with adult vocabularies, desperately trying to figure out if they are safe with each other. Wow. So the next time you find yourself spiraling in conflict, stop and ask yourself, is this the adult me talking, or is this the echo of a deeply frightened child who just wants to know they won't be left alone?
That reframing changes absolutely everything about how we approach the people we love. It really does.
It changes the whole world.
In the next episode, we will continue with Session 6, titled Attachment and Mentalizing. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to follow us to stay up to date with our latest episodes.